in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Please welcome.
Welcome to the gayest podcast ever.
Hello and welcome to the gayest podcast ever. My name is Josh and I'm here with
Eric
and CJ.
Hello, boys. How are you today?
Hey.
Everyone doing okay on this?
Wind it on down. We finally have some kind of recognition that Biden is officially our president from our current president.
But we're just on a pause right now where we live. We're just on a pause.
Hey, we're heading in the right direction. That's good enough for me.
Yeah.
I don't know whoever didn't rewind the tape at Blockbuster, but I'm going to kick your ass.
I don't even know what that means, but I like it.
They found that giant metal monolith in the middle of the desert in Utah, so that's got to be something.
What do you think? Do you think it's like an art installation?
You guys, they're releasing all the trailers for the possible ending of 2020.
Oh, aliens?
I'm convinced it's aliens. I've seen a 2001: A Space Odyssey. I know how that begins.
Aliens legit scare me. Like, that is something like, give me a zombie, give me a vampire.
Because she grew up in the township, girl. She grew up in the township. UFOs out there in those parts.
Zombies aren't smart. Aliens, those fuckers are smart.
That's why I want to be a vampire.
I guarantee you, in a few days, you guys are going to hear from me, like, Spencer's going to be like, why are these water glasses everywhere? I'm going to be like, swing away. Like, I'm ready. If those aliens come, I'm taking my cues from Mel Gibson.
I keep waiting to see Josh on the news, like, running out of the store that's being, like, attacked, like, with all these bottles of wine.
or Tito's, like, big.
Yeah, the apocalypse. And I'm like, I know her.
Yeah.
The news reporter, sir.
They're going to be like, the only way to kill them is vodka. Josh is like, not this vodka.
Yeah, he's got like 20 tote bags full.
Not the Tito's. Use the Mohawk. Use something terrible.
Oh my God, Dad.
Everything.
Okay,
Tito's is in your car.
Let's not focus too much on the end of the world, and let's focus on some sexy.
Let's focus on the good things happening.
Some sexy,
now,
yes.
Which one of the favorite things that we saw over the last week was that People magazine named Michael B. Jordan, right? Michael B. Jordan. There's the B in there. He's not the A. But Michael B. Jordan has sexiest man alive, and I agree.
I agree.
100% agree. Yes.
Yeah. He is a beautiful man, and I remember watching him on Friday Night Lights back in the day.
Parenthood. Those were his two big Ron Howard shows, and like his career just took off from there.
No, he was in a soap opera apparently when he was young. I wouldn't say
all were in the soap operas.
Like All My Children, he had like cornrows and like braids down to his shoulders. I don't know anything about his character. It was just in the magazine when the article that they did. And I was like, okay, everyone gets a start on All My Children.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and like he was the villain in Black Panther, and I was like, ooh, do I root for the bad guy?
Yeah, but he was a villain that you love, and he had a story, and you understood it. It's not like he just wanted to take over the world.
Josh, all that means is everybody loves a bad boy.
That's true.
Yes. And I wonder because the guy that played Black Panther, because he passed away, I wonder if they'll try and rope in Michael Jordan in some type of way back into that franchise, because he is such a big name.
So, I don't have a job, and so all I have to do now is like sit and watch YouTube videos. And there is a rumor that with the Marvel heading toward the multiverse like storyline, that they could bring him from a different universe into Earth as we know it, and him take over the mantle of the Black Panther. But then also in the comic books, Shuri took over the Black Mantle several times throughout the storyline. So that's probably where they're going to go. But it is possible.
You just spoke like French to Eric. He has no idea of any of the words you just said.
I was like, I think I just zoned out and froze like Josh. I was like, wait, what?
What is it?
I just saw Eric just sitting there with his wine.
I was like,
no idea what you're saying.
Eric said that they're like Emily in Paris, not understanding damn where.
Well, that's what I texted you guys. The one thing I was like, how many movies do I have to watch this? You guys are like 30. I'm like, no, I'm not watching. I'm like, more superheroes? I can't. Like,
please, you watch 6 seasons of Game of Thrones. That probably equals almost the exact same amount of time on film.
Dan was so embarrassed the other day. We were riding in the car and something came on the radio and it was a trivia question. And they're like, and this artist song came out this year and premiered at this show's Thanksgiving dinner scene. And he always says his own name in his song. And I was like, Jason Derulo, what'd you say? And like got it right. And Dan's like, how do you know that? It's like, you know how many stupid home runs what's his face has. I don't care. Like,
we all have our special talents, Daniel.
That Bravo Sports Bar, I'm building that Bravo Sports Bar. Like, that is just genius to me.
If you build it, Lisa Rinna will come. Look, I blended a sports saying and a Bravo saying. I am the bridge.
Oh my god!
But
there were
also,
some other cuties on the list.
Yes. One of our all-time favorites was he named sexiest man in quarantine?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
it was Daniel Levy, Emmy Award-winning actor, director, producer, showrunner. Daniel Levy. He's such a cutie. Oh my gosh! It's like when he was like taking out the trash in that photo, I was just like,
all the wine
everything's
bottles?
so cute.
That's us. That was us.
That tracks.
I'm literally going to go to a winery and be like, listen, I supported your business and kept you at business during quarantine. You owe me a crate of wine, at least, the minimum.
I love the picture in the magazine where he's trying to do the puzzle. He's just like holding the pieces like, what? Like,
yeah, he said puzzles. I watched his interview, and he just said puzzles weren't for him. He would get very disinterested.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
And what were some of the other guys on there? I know CJ, you actually had the magazine.
Yes. So Anderson Cooper's baby was one cutest baby of the year.
It's like sexiest baby? That's a little weird.
2020 is like a reaching now.
So the Jonas Brothers, we mentioned before we started recording, they were mentioned, but they were an honorable mention for sexiest brothers. The winner of that was actually Chris and Liam Hemsworth. Chris and Scott Evans were also on that top like 3 list. I think that was they only showed like the top 3 or whatever. But the Jonas Brothers were number 3.
Oh wow. It's Kevin.
Well,
Kevin
I mean, there's more of them. Don't they get more points?
Frankie. Poor Frankie.
Right. Although
at least we know his name.
Right?
They're going to win. Those Aussies from down under.
You know what, though? You didn't ever hear about Frankie getting no purity ring because that boy got to high school and he's like, oh, my brother's the Jonas Brothers. And, like, every girl in the school was like, yeah, bro. Like,
even the gays are like, this is my way in.
I found the rabbit hole. Any other mentions? I mean, I thought I saw. Oh, I'm blanking. No, I don't know who I saw.
I mean, they had so many different categories. Just about everyone that 60 made it in. They did have a Silver Fox category, and they put previously crowned sexiest men in there. So, like Harrison Ford, who's some other ones that we've had this episode before, but like
George Clooney and
George was one of them. So they had like a top like silver daddies, and they had just 4 like, previous winners of the sexiest man alive. Even though he's not really a sexy daddy, they did Johnny Depp. He's not like a silver daddy. Unless he's just dying.
The guy from Emily in Paris was on it. The chef, Lucas Bravo, was on it. You know, Dwayne Johnson was on it.
Rock.
Yeah, they did like Chef, like how CJ says. Chris Rock's on it. Paul Rudd.
Shawn Mendes was sexiest social media poster, which was very strange.
Steve Kornacki's on it.
The math guy from MSNBC.
Yeah, it was just like they did like categories and stuff. There just wasn't a list of ranking to make you feel bad about yourself this year.
Got you. 2020's been hard enough. So People Magazine was like Lindsay Lohan and Mean Girls, and you get a piece of the crown, and you get a piece of the crown, and you know.
And then she gave that whole crown away, and now look at her club in Greece clothes.
I think like Idris Elba had like sexiest eyes or something. Like they really broke it down.
Idris Elba is sexy. Okay.
Yeah.
In The Wire, oh my God, he was everything in The Wire.
Isn't he a former winner or no? Did I make that up?
I think he was a former winner. I'm almost positive.
If not, then next year.
Yeah,
for sure.
Get him in there in the rankings. So you know, as crappy as 2020 has been, at least it's been super sexy.
Well, those people all took advantage of quarantine and like probably worked out and like still had their chef quarantining with them.
Not Dan Levy. He was very vocal about that in the interview. He has not worked out during quarantine. But I love though that they made a category sexiest man in quarantine just for
I want to know how long it takes him to do his hair. Like, I just want him to like say it out loud how long it takes him to do that hair.
Oh, that's family. They just wake up and like fling it.
Good hair. All right. Well, that was wonderful. Good catching up on the sexy times. I think we should refill our drinks. And when we come back, I'm going to jump into our first category, and that's talking about the big first award show. I guess it's going to be a 2021 and the nominations that came out today. So fill up your drink and come on back. Unless like you're driving your car somewhere, don't fill up your drink. Just keep driving. Eyes on the road.
No, they have alcohol to go now. You can just get alcohol to go.
Well, drive responsibly. We'll be right back.
I love the way that you talk.
And we are back, and I don't know if you guys were aware, but today they announced the Grammy nominations. And it was a bunch of people did it. They had everyone and their brother doing this Grammy nominations today. But just so, and I didn't realize they're moving the Grammys way, way up.
Are they?
Like it's Sunday, January 31st.
Because there's been nothing on for almost a year.
Isn't it normally February?
It's usually end of February, beginning of March. So I don't know. And I know the Oscars were on the move too. So maybe they're trying to redo all of award season. But
they're on the move.
They're on the move. And they just announced that Trevor Noah, the host of The Daily Show.
Yes, I saw that.
He's going to be the host. So we are having a host for the Grammys.
Love him.
He's funny.
Yeah, he's funny. He's sexy. He's relevant. I think it's a smart move. And so the eligibility period for this Grammys is September 1st of 2019 to August 31st of 2020. So anything released after August 31st of this year was not eligible. It'll be eligible for next year. So like the recent Ariana Grande, that's not eligible. Someone else had a pretty big record that wasn't eligible. Any of the new like Shawn Mendes.
That has got to be so annoying.
Sometimes they do it purposefully, like Ariana Grande. Like once she realized like Taylor Swift had something out and Dua Lipa had something out, maybe she's like, "Ooh, I'll wait till after the eligibility period." But now we know Adele's probably going to release something in the next year, so she's got to contend against that. But
remember last year, like in the fall, we were like, "Oh, Adele's going to come out with her new album in the spring,"
right.
And then here we are, 1 year later. Still waiting. We even said, "Oh, they'll bring it out Thanksgiving. She'll plan a release for Christmas." Never happened.
Yep. Not even Adele could save 2020.
Right.
But
and she just refused.
But she hosted SNL, which was hilarious if you've not watched it. But so the big like nominations. Beyonce got the most.
Yes.
With 9 nominations. And that threw me at first because I was like, what new music did Beyonce put out? And
I'm like, am I this dumb? I'm like, what new music has Beyonce had?
And so a lot of it stemmed from Black Parade. And Black Parade was a song that she released earlier in the spring. And I remember listening to it. I really liked it. It was she did a whole Lion King short film based on the music. And me and Spencer watched it in quarantine the first time. And it was very different. It was very artsy. But a lot of her nominations stem from that in both the main categories and then a lot of the R&B category. So that's how she got so many. And she also sings, so she gets a lot of nominations from that. And in a 3-way tie for number 2 of the most nominated is Taylor Swift for all of her work with Folklore, Dua Lipa with all of her work for Future Nostalgia, and Roddy Ricch. And he's got that song Rockstar, right? I believe, like a rock star. And so he got a bunch of nominations from that.
The Baby featuring Roddy Ricch.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought we'd first
these names. I can't even handle The Baby, The Weeknd.
Yeah. So, and that's the other kind of thing that the big shockers that people were left out of. Do we want to talk about those now? Or do we want to wait to the end?
Bring it.
Okay, so the big shockers that people were like was The Weeknd. Everyone went into this thinking The Weeknd Blinding Lights was so huge. The album was like critically acclaimed, and he literally got 0. Nothing in the main categories, nothing in the side categories. So everyone was kind of puzzled at that. The other kind of main thing that people were like, Lady Gaga was shut out of the 4 big categories. I mean, clearly she wouldn't be nominated for Best New Artist, but she was shut out of Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and Song of the Year.
She only got duet, right?
She got 2. She got Best Pop Album for Chromatica and Best Pop Duet with Ariana Grande, Rain on Me. And then the other big one that a lot of people talk about is Harry Styles. His album was really, really critically acclaimed. And everyone thought he would get some love in Album of the Year and Song of the Year, and he did not. He did get 2 nominations over in the pop category, just like Lady Gaga, though. So they're not super.
He's getting plenty of press otherwhere, though, right now. So he's doing okay.
Yes. And he did get a couple nominations.
It's a weird year for music because one, not a lot was released, and then I guess most of us, me included, I heard a lot of my music usually when I'm in my car going back to work or whatever, and I wasn't in my car that much this year, so I didn't hear a lot of these songs. So when I'm going through the list, I'm like, who are these people? What are these songs? And then I'm trying to listen to some of them. I'm like, that's who sings that? I had no clue.
And I think a lot of the music too, because you're exactly right. People listen to music in a whole nother way this year. People are listening digitally. They're listening through something like TikTok. They're hearing songs on YouTube. They're hearing songs in a lot of different mediums than we're used to. So I think that resulted in a lot of people getting nominated that we're not normally used to seeing.
Right. But also when you were getting a lot of changes have happened, we don't go out. So you don't you can't hear the stuff you're usually hearing at the bar. Or when you were getting ready, you listen to music, or like CJ said, in the car, or
you can't hear those dance mixes of stuff in the club because none of us are in the club dancing. Justin Bieber, I think most of his songs were featured in TikTok videos, so I think that's why he had a lot of popularity.
I mean, Stevie Nicks is going to come back because of TikTok, okay?
Exactly. And so let's start with Album of the Year, which a lot of people consider the big one. The first one is, and I apologize, I really meant time to look this stuff up and pronounce it properly, and the day got away from me. So I apologize to all these fabulous artists who worked so hard for me just to butcher their name. But the first one is called Chilambo, and it's by maybe Jenny Aiko.
Janae Aiko, maybe?
Janae Aiko, I apologize. Next one is Black Pumas, which is the album is called Black Pumas. Next is Everyday Life by Coldplay. Didn't even know Coldplay put out a new album. The next one is Dejessi Volume 3 by Jacob Collier.
I don't know volume 2 or what.
I've never used the Mariah Carey. I don't know her diff more in my life. I don't know who.
Yeah. And now we're gonna get some more. So those are the first 4. Now the next 4, I think you'll be a little more familiar with. Women in Music Part 3 by Haim, Haim. Those are the 3 sisters. They've had a couple minor hits. Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa. Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone, and Folklore by Taylor Swift.
I feel like Post Malone. What was the last music award where I feel like Post Malone was nominated for just about every category?
I feel like he won a lot at the Billboard Music Awards, I think, because his album and his song Circles were just very, very heavy on radio and socials and everything like that. I'm super, super excited for All the Love for Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa, because it was by far one of my favorite albums from the last year. It's just a good pop record. So I'm super, super happy for her.
I listened to that so many times, just over and over and over again. Every single track on that was amazing.
It's a bop. Yeah, it was one of the few albums that I could put on, and me and Spencer both were like, yes, we can jam to every single song together. So anytime you can find an album that is cohesive in the household is always awesome. But yeah, so the album of the year is very heavily disproportioned, I feel like, and you're either super, super famous or you're not. And so it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Next up, let's do record of the year, which these are the ones that go to the artist and the producer. These do not go to the songwriter, like in Song of the Year. Record of the year: Black Parade by Beyonce, Colors by Black Pumas, Rockstar by DaBaby featuring Roddy Ricch, Say So by Doja Cat, which I'll never forget. This is a funny story because you were talking about like not hearing music. I did not know this song for the longest time because it just wasn't on the things that I normally get my music from. And Alyssa, our friend Alyssa, actually told me about it and said, "Oh no, you should add it to a playlist." And I was like, "Oh, awesome, will do." And I really love it, and it was a huge hit. Everything I Wanted by Billie Eilish, which is the really, really sad slow one. Don't Start Now by Dua Lipa. Circles by Post Malone, and Savage by Megan Thee Stallion featuring Beyonce. So that's where
I feel like.
Well, that was a huge on social media, Bougie, Ratchet, that was a huge meme generator. It's huge TikTok. That one I feel like besides Black Pumas, I knew everything else on that list. So I guess I'll have to look them up.
Definitely.
Song of the year, which goes to the songwriter, it's a lot of very similar, but it's Black Parade by Beyonce. And I just have the artist name. I didn't want to write down all the writers because some of these songs had like 5 writers on them, and I didn't want to do all that.
No, yeah. It's like at the award shows when they like all let them speak, and we're like, move along.
Yeah. So I just gave you guys the artist. I love songwriters. I appreciate songwriters. If you have the time, go look them up. I apologize, but due to time constraints, this is what I'm doing. The Box by Roddy Ricch. And I don't think I've heard The Box by Roddy Ricch. I'll have to look that one up. Cardigan by Taylor Swift. Circles by Post Malone. Don't Start Now, Dua Lipa. Everything I Wanted, Billie Eilish. I Can't Breathe by Her, who we originally discussed on this podcast a year ago.
I do remember that.
And If the World Was Ending by JP Sachs and Julia Michaels, which me and Spencer, I was watching YouTube videos one time during the first quarantine. That song came out. He's like, "This is like the saddest song ever," and they wrote it in quarantine. It's really sad, but
sweet song. Like,
if the world was ending, I'd want to be with you. Is essentially the message. And it's like, I don't want the world to end. This hits a little too close to home right now. Okay,
Josh can't handle the stress.
I can't. I really can't.
He's ready to crack.
Yeah.
When Circles came out, it wasn't toward the beginning of this.
It was because, and the only reason I know that, CJ, is because I quit the wine bar in November of 2019, and right before I left, that song was huge. And I remember one of the coworkers saying her and her kids loved it. And I was like, this song. So I know it happened right. It must have happened between September and November.
But that's the thing about the Grammys is, so now we've already discussed Ariana Grande's positions. It's not eligible. However, it will be next year, and so next year we're going to be like, position. God, when did that song come out? It was like it had to be at the beginning of this cycle. Like,
well, hopefully that'll be on like Josh's summer 2021 playlist. Like,
right?
Yeah, so many bops didn't get their proper featured this year. It's really, really sad. But and then let's just talk about real quick best new artist. And this one's kind of usually all over the
Nicki
place.
Minaj. No, I'm just kidding.
Phoebe Bridgers, Ingrid Andress, who Ingrid Andress is a country singer. She's really good. She just performed at the CMAs. Doja Cat, Kate Tarananda. I apologize, Kate Tarananda. Megan Thee Stallion. Noah Cyrus. Is he or she related to Miley?
Yes.
I believe it's her sister. It's her sister. Yes, I believe.
Oh, okay.
That's awkward because I feel like that person came out more than a year ago.
No, that's her brother. He used to date the Brenda Song, like that.
No, Noah had
The
a
Sweet Life of
song.
Zach and Cody.
Noah Cyrus might have had but the best new artist category is super strange. There's no real time constraints on when you can and cannot re-release music to be eligible for best new artist. It's a really weird thing because like Lizzo last year being nominated for best new artist, a lot of people were like, but Lizzo's been making music since 2017. And then so there's just two more, Chica and D Smoke. D Smoke, I wrote it down. I was like, oh, it's like,
Dude, I'm up for D Smoke. That's fun to watch.
Yeah. So it's a very, very interesting Grammy lineup. I'll be very curious to see how they do it. All the award shows so far that I've seen have kind of taken different approaches to it. Hopefully they can do it safe because I love the Grammys because I love hearing all the music. I love all the performances, and usually people dress a little more risque and fun for the Grammys. So it's usually
Wasn't J-Lo's dress? Wasn't that was that VMAs or Grammys?
No, it was Grammys. I think the infamous Versace dress. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see where it goes. But yeah, that's what's happening in the music world. So we'll just have to kind of stay tuned to see what happens next. But yeah. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to refill our glasses. And when we come back, we're going to be talking about everyone's favorite homemaker. All right. Stay tuned.
You talk.
All right, and we're back. And right before the break, I called her a homemaker, but now I'm already regretting that because I think she's more of a cultural icon. But I'll let you, CJ, talk all about your topic.
I think she's the queen of everything is the official title I'm going to give her. Miss Martha Stewart. So if there's one thing that I've done during quarantine, it's really focus on my house and everything. And so I've turned to Miss Martha Stewart for all these different things. So I thought it'd be a great opportunity to talk about the queen of homemaking, queen of interior design, queen of cooking, queen of gardening, queen of everything, like I said.
Queen Bee.
Queen Bee, for sure. So first of all, she is 79 years old. Let's talk about that.
What?
She's 70. She's going to be 80 next year?
9 years old. So first of all, did we see the recent Instagram thirst trap photo that she posted in the pool? Yes.
That was a 79-year-old?
So Chelsea Handler tried to copy this and looked nowhere as good as Martha Stewart. Girl looks great for almost 80.
Well, there's somebody that's older than our president, so there.
Right. I mean, Martha for president any day.
Right.
Make the country gay again for sure.
She'd make an apple pie for everyone.
Right. So her wiki page says she's a retail businesswoman, a writer, TV personality, and former model. So, and she's the founder of Martha Stewart Living Omni Media, which is her parent company.
It doesn't call her former jailbird.
It does not. We'll get to that. She was born in Jersey City, New Jersey. She's a Jersey girl.
She's a Jersey girl. That's why she survives.
And she's
a tough bird.
Yeah, she's a tough bird.
She's one of 6 kids, and her family's Polish. So, I can't even begin to pronounce her maiden name or her parents' names because
does it have like a ski or a
it does have a ski at the end.
All right, spell it for me.
I'm not even getting in there. It's just I'm sorry, it doesn't have a ski at the end. It's Kostyra. Costria. Well, I mean, it gives me the pronunciations. I have it here, and that didn't even. There's letters turned upside down. I'm not doing that. So Martha Stewart's first job was age 10 as a babysitter, and she babysat for tons of the New York Yankees players' children. Like, that's her first job. Like, Mickey Mantle's kids were her first job. How does this happen?
Well, yeah, bitch is 80. That makes total sense.
Right? But first,
she babysat for George Washington's kids. This is just,
who would hire a 10-year-old if you were like a famous baseball player?
And you know what she was doing while she was babysitting? She was like, "Now sew me a towel."
No, fold the cheese. Fold
it in.
Fold it in. Yes. So at age 15, she started her modeling career. She did several TV commercials. One was for Unilever, which is a company that apparently owns Hellmann's, Dove, and Lipton.
Unilever.
Unilever, yeah, sure.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said.
Unilever. Dua Lipa? What?
What you call me?
Right. So she started modeling at 15, and then she continued modeling through college. That's how she paid for her college. She got $50 an hour, which that's probably more than I make right now. So,
this bitch was an entrepreneur from the time she was 11.
Right. So $50 an hour. And I love that on her wiki page, it said $50 an hour was a lot for that time. I'm like, no, $50 an hour is a lot today.
I'll work at a $50 an hour job. Right?
Yeah.
That's $100,000 a year. At 40 hours. She probably worked like 3 hours a day, though, so it doesn't really count. So her most famous client that she worked for was Chanel. She's a Chanel girl. But while she was young, her mother taught her how to sew and cook, and her dad had a passion for gardening, so that's where she learned all about gardening. She went to school for art history and architectural history. That explains a lot. Mm-hmm. In 1961, mind you, 1961, she got married to Andrew Stewart, who was a law student from Yale. I've got all my notes here, so I'm just flipping through them because I know Chad's going to cut me off in 13 minutes. So she married Andrew Stewart in 1961. My mom wasn't even born yet, so that's why she.
My youngest aunt was born that year, so okay.
In 1967, she became a stockbroker. That's going to come back and haunt her.
I don't even understand this anymore. This bitch has lived 12 lives, and she's like 24.
Listen, I went down this rabbit hole, Martha, and I felt like my life has sucked compared to hers. She was making more money at 15 than I have now. Well, granted, I'm unemployed.
I thought I was a model, but you had me a Chanel girl. I was like, what?
So her father-in-law was a stockbroker, and so he talked her into getting in the stock business. Her husband, meantime, founded a publishing house. And so that's kind of where the publishing side of the got to. We'll get to that in a second. But they moved to Westport, Connecticut, and restored a 1805 farmhouse, which would later become the set for her Martha Stewart Living show.
Okay.
So because she was so good at restoring this, like she started catching people's eyes. Like they're like, oh, you've got a kind of a knack for like restoring old homes and making them gorgeous. So in 1976, she started a catering business in her basement. Hello, I'm in my basement right now. Like, I guess that's what I'm going to do with my life. Who wants to start a catering business with me?
I'm telling you, catering businesses are where it's at. So my ex-wife has started a catering business for like keto desserts. I'm sure she has sent you guys some like invites, and it is taking off. Like she can't keep up.
Yes, I saw that strawberry cheesecake. I'm ready to try that. So in 1977, she was hired to cater a book release party that her husband was residing over the publishing house. The book was called The Secret Book of Gnomes. Do you know this?
Mm-mm.
Apparently, it was a big, giant book at the time. It's a children's book, apparently, but it's something we need to read. It was huge. So she was catered to hire the release party, and that's where people started really coming onto Martha. She was introduced to Alan Merlin, who was the head of Crown Publishing, and he hired her to develop a cookbook called Just Entertaining, and that came out in 1982. So Martha's right, the best year ever. So I can't even list all the books that Martha's come out with. So it was called Martha Stewart Quick Cook, which came out in 83. Martha Stewart Hors d'oeuvres came out in 84. Martha Stewart Pies and Tarts came out in 85. Martha Stewart
She just goes through all the desserts every year.
Right. 80s.
Yeah.
So it's funny. She had in 87, she had Martha Stewart Weddings. And then in 88, she had Martha Stewart The Wedding Planner. Not to be confused with J-Lo's movie.
She does look like the one from the movie with Kate Hudson and Anne Heche. Murphy Brown, Candice Bergen.
Yes. In 88, she came out with Martha Stewart's Secret of Entertaining. And then it just literally goes on and on and on to list all these books. She had TV appearances that year in 88 on Oprah and Larry King Live. So she was a regular on Oprah. So anytime they did some kind of cooking segment, Oprah had Martha on. In 1990, a few years later, she divorced Anthony Stewart.
Anthony or Andrew?
Andrew, sure. Yeah, what's his name? Yeah.
You called him Anthony, girl!
Andrew. I'm glad someone's paying attention. So Andrew Stewart, in that very same year, she was signed with Time Publishing Ventures and created Martha Stewart Living.
Is that Kmart?
No, not yet. We're not
Kmart happened.
Yeah. So 1990 is when Martha Stewart Living started, and she was hired as the editor-in-chief. That initial run, she had a $250,000 or not dollar, 250,000 copy base. So basically, the first couple of copies sold 250,000. The peak of Martha Stewart Living was in 2002 when she was selling 2 million copies per issue. All right. So we're going to backtrack just a little bit. So she divorced in 1990. In 1993, she started Martha Stewart Living, the TV show. It started off as a 30-minute, once-a-week episode. So it came on Thursday or whatever, and it was only 30 minutes. And I feel like that's short for Martha because I watch her show now, and she can't even get through a recipe in 30 minutes. So I what's the show that 30-minute meals with Rachel Ray?
She should be on Empire.
Yeah. Rachel Ray couldn't get through some of Martha's recipes in 30 minutes. In 97, they expanded her show to weekdays. So she had every single day in the week, still 30 minutes. In 99, they expanded it to an hour-long show and then did a 30-minute show on the weekends. So Martha Stewart Living, the show, ran until 2004. At that time, she started to secure funding and pulled all of her different ventures together. So she had her magazines, she had her TV, she had all of her supplies, her cookbooks. She bought all of that stuff from the various people and started her new company, which is she still owns today, which is called Martha Stewart Living Omni Media. Girl's a busy girl, and we're not even the 2000s yet. So in October 19th,
it sounds like you need to increase this.
You better start skipping ahead, girl.
So October 1999 is when Martha Stewart Living, the Omni Media, went public. On the opening day, it started at $16 a share. By the end of the day, it was at $38 a share, which made her the first female self-made billionaire in the U.S. in all of history. Go, Martha.
I thought that was Kylie Jenner.
No.
Apparently not.
One under 20 or something.
It was a joke.
Don't come for those Jenners, girl. They're like the Secret Service. They're listening. Okay.
So that was 99.
Kanye didn't win.
Skip forward to late 2001, where she makes the mistake of doing a stock trade. No. So some
Sybil Shepherd.
information was leaked to
That
her.
Lifetime movie was with Sybil
Right?
Shepherd, wasn't it?
So some information was told to her that she should sell several shares of her stock. So she sold nearly 4,000 shares, and then the following day, the stock dropped 16%. So I don't know a lot about stocks, but I have to think, if you sold 4,000 shares, didn't that cause your stocks to drop a little bit?
And I don't know a lot about that either, but I don't know. And again, she was the stock market person, but I feel like if someone tells you like, oh, you sell those stocks, like that's just good advice. Like,
Yeah.
Right? Same thing.
Unless it was her buddy Snoop Dogg when he was all stoned, like, girl, sell those stocks.
And it was all to save $38,000. So they said, if you do this, you'll save yourself $38,000. So 2002, because this was the late 2001. So 2002, the media really starts to look into it. They start questioning her. She's trying to ignore it as much as possible. Literally, she's on the Today Show trying to cook a soup, and like somebody's like, Matt Bauer, or whatever his name is. It's like,
it was probably Matt Lauer, and she should have been like, why don't you worry about you?
it's literally, she quoted as saying, I'm just trying to make my soup right now. So in 2003, the indictment came, and then 2004 is when the trial hit. It was a 6-week trial. It was very public. It was like the OJ thing. I mean, I think it was on every channel. She ultimately served 5 months in prison, and then had to pay almost $150,000 in fees, which is astounding because she was trying to save $38,000 to begin with. And she ended up spending 5 months in prison and paid almost $150,000. But she was released in 2005. She started a very ready, let's do this campaign. Let's get Martha back in the limelight. Let's increase her status. So she came out with the Kmart, Sears. She did TV stuff. She did books. And that's when she came out with the Martha Stewart show that was on, where she did her cooking. That's where I think Snoop Dogg really started getting involved in her life.
Ryan bought their house next door.
Snoop Dogg was like, you got street cred, Martha. I can come hang with you.
Exactly. So Macy's picked her up. And now she's back to her status. She has this empire again. She's so when she was put in prison, one of the agreements with the court was she had to step down from an executive officer role. So she stepped down from CEO and took over as just creative director of Martha Stewart Living Omni Media. And so then after so many years, she's now been put back up, and she's back to being the CEO and in charge of Martha Stewart Living. She has a new,
she was CEO all along.
Right. So she has a new show on HGTV. I love it. It's called Martha Knows Best, and it started in quarantine. So everything is shot. She has her gardener, her driver, and her housekeeper. She asked them to move in with her, and it's just her on this giant 150-acre estate, gardening, playing with the peacocks, playing with the chickens, whatever. It's so entertaining. She takes callers. So what they'll do is they'll FaceTime someone and be like, oh, hi, do you have a question for my boss? And they're like, yeah, how do I do this? And they're like, here's my boss. And they're like, oh, Martha Stewart. It's kind of a surprise tactic. It's really fun. But I know I'm running out of time. Chad's looking at me weird. But I did have an opportunity, thanks to Josh, to do a virtual wine tasting with Martha just last week. And it was so much fun. It's not a wine club, it's a wine company. So Martha does this great thing where she goes and she picks out all these wines. And if she likes it, great, it goes into the company. If she doesn't, guess what? You're not coming back.
You are the weakest link.
Her biggest thing is you don't have to go to the supermarket and wonder if these wines are good or not. She's like, I've already done the job for you. So it was a very nice experience. It could have been a little longer. It was about an hour. She talked about different wine pairings with Thanksgiving dinner. We sampled a great Sauvignon Blanc. We sampled a rosé. We sampled Pinot Noir. So good.
These are a few of my favorites.
She don't remember the fourth one, girl. She don't remember the fourth one.
No, like Josh and I were texting, and I kept sending pictures. He's like, "I love that one. I love that one. Oh my god, these are my."
So I literally tagged CJ in the post on Instagram, and then he's like, He's like, "They're sold out of the 3-bottle one." He's like, "I'm doing the case," and I was like, "I am not ready to buy a whole case of wine." It was a risky move, but I'm glad.
No, I think CJ, you sold me. I think I'm a Martha fan now. I just got her biography in the Cliff Notes, so I love it. Like,
I feel like I'm
well done.
Thinking about Martha now. So shout out to her gardener Ryan. We've been chatting on Instagram a little bit. He's super cute, got really curly hair. He lived with Martha all summer and eventually was able to get back out to his house. But as I asked him, I was like, how do you deal with, I can't even live in my own house during quarantine, not unless someone else's, and Martha Stewart. And his response was, "Oh no, I had my own house on her property." I'm like, of course you had your own house on Martha's property.
I would be lying to Martha, be like, "Quarantine's not over. I live here now. Like, this is my home."
Like, can Martha cook for me every meal, please? Thank you. So please check out Martha Stewart Knows Best on HGTV. It's such a fun little show. She's so down to earth. She cusses a lot. She's very honest. And if someone that she's FaceTiming has a idea, she'll be like, "I don't like that. No, I don't think that's a good idea." She's so honest with people. It's great.
Well, when it's your business. Like, be like, "No, it's stupid. I'm not doing that."
I'm fucking Martha Stewart, bitch.
Yeah. She had to trade yarn for smokes in the big house. So, she's used to it. But all right. Thank you so much, CJ. I love that. I love Martha. Get her little magazine. And we're going to refill our glasses. And we come back. We're going to talk about everyone. I feel like everyone is binging this show on Netflix right now. And Eric's just going to give us a little royal update. So stay tuned.
I love the way that you talk.
And we're back. I'm going to turn it over to Eric. Who's going to Queen Eric, Princess Eric?
Well, speaking of queens, long live the Queen of England. The actual queen, not Miss Stewart. But,
isn't she also 100?
She just celebrated her 73rd wedding anniversary. Could you imagine?
I'll be lucky to celebrate 73 years of life.
Yeah. Dan asked me, because my parents are celebrating their 50 years next year, and he goes, "Do you think we'll be around for that long?" And I was like, "Well, you'll be 94, so maybe."
If I don't kill you first.
If I make it that long, I don't want to know about it. Just pump IV fluids.
I hope we all live in the same nursing home together.
Yeah, we'll still call it the Oak Park.
No, and it's going to be then the one person, I worked in a nursing home and I know how the dining rooms work. Someone's going to try to come and we'll be like, "You can't sit with us."
Yeah, we're going to be coming down the hall. They're going to be like, "Here comes the OP8. Here they come."
I did it at the nursing home. I'd be like, "Oh, well, Mr. Smith's going to join you guys for dinner," and they're like, "Oh no, don't sit here." No. It's so
my gosh.
Anyway, back to back. So anyways, The Crown, everyone's been watching season 4 and it is good. CJ, you watched it? Yes. Okay, Josh, you haven't really been watching.
So I only watched seasons 1 and 2, so I haven't seen any of the new cast, but clearly I don't mind spoilers because it's already happened.
Don't forget if you don't watch season 3, you're fine.
Season 3 was an awkward season because they didn't have a lot to talk about. They weren't really
focused on Margaret and
And I love Helena Bonham Carter. But
nobody cares, and that's going to be some things we touch on here. There's a scene in season 4 where she's talking about how she's the crown princess, and she wants to go to this event. And Edward, who is the queen's, they call in the show, Charles and Anne call Andrew and Edward the B team because they had them 10 years after Anne and Charles were born.
Gotcha.
So
let's talk about shade.
right? Like, oh no, I cracked up a lot. Like, there were a lot of zingers when like Charles looked at Andrew on his wedding day, and they're like, they were mad because the Queen spoke out against Margaret Thatcher, and it was the night before Andrew and Fergie's wedding day, and like Charles walks in the room, and it's all four of the siblings. He's like, "Why'd you call me here?" And he's like, "Well, Mummy like gave this story to the press, and how could she do this?" And he's like, "Who cares? It's not like you're gonna be king." And like he's like, "Did you seriously just say that to me on my wedding day?"
Seriously, every episode I was like, shade.
Yeah.
Shade.
But like,
Okay, you're reeling me in.
Margaret coming up, and like the youngest prince is like, Prince Edward is about to be 18 or whatever, and she's like, you know, how do they not care if I'm not there? And they're like, well, to be honest, like you're like 8th in line to the throne now. Like there's like Charles and now there's William, and
they throw around the
William's gonna have kids.
succession.
Yeah,
They
where
throw
she
around the succession like
she started off second in line, and then all these babies started happening, and now she's 8th.
They're like, oh no, can we get like anybody else?
Yeah. How do you think Harry feels right now? Like, William keeps having all these babies. He's like,
he's signing deals with Netflix. He don't care. He's about to have a reality show. Anyway.
yeah, Harry gave up on all that.
I'll watch that any day.
She's like, there's no chance in hell you are taking that throne. Let's move to LA.
Well, they did this funny
The
thing.
plane has to go down before you're
They
king.
did this funny thing in the series too about like favorite kids, and so Margaret Thatcher has twins. She has a boy, Mark and Carol, I think their names are, and she tells the Queen like, my favorite child, talking about her son because he goes missing. And you see her daughter and her play it out with her husband and everything in the episode, but like Prince Philip and the Queen are having a conversation about, and he goes, oh, you have a favorite child. And she goes, well, do you? And he goes, well, of course. Like any normal parent would say that. And she goes, who's yours? Without hesitation. And you can see it in the series. It's Anne. It's Princess Anne. Yeah. It's like Daddy's little, but she's the only athlete in the family. Like he just loves her.
Yeah,
So-
like she follows along in his footsteps pretty much.
Yeah. And I totally saw a whole different side of Princess Anne, like in this series that I kind of respected. But, and then we were like watching, and it was like the 4 kids, and he's like, Prince Philip tells the Queen, oh, I know who yours are. So she insists on having lunch with all 4 of them.
Separately.
Yeah, separately. But right when she has them, like the one, I go, literally, I'm one of 4 children. It's always the 3rd child when it's the 4th, there's 4 kids. It's always the 3rd child. I just sadist. So like Prince Andrew lands the helicopter on the lawn, and he's like just a jokester and seems real easygoing. And then at the end of the episode, he says to her, Andrew, your favorite child. And she was like, well, he just never changes. Like, she just talks about how her other kids are all just whiny, spoiled brats. Like,
I love it. Okay, you guys. All right,
Camilla's in it, and like the girl who plays, I'm sorry, her name was Emma Corrin as Diana. You fell in love with her.
Spot on.
Well, and go ahead, CJ.
Go ahead, Josh. Go ahead.
Oh, I was reading an article, and it literally said that there are people over in the UK. There are like people who worked with Diana and wrote, like, I think one of the guys that did her biography literally was like, I've seen a lot of actresses come and go. He's like, she's nailing Diana on so many levels.
I fell in love with her. Like there was literally a scene that I had to Google. It was when they announced their engagement, and they literally did an interview, and Prince Charles looks at the camera, and they were like, are you in love? And she's like, of course. And then he's like, in love, whatever that means. And I like had to Google the interview, and he said it.
Dead on. Yeah, dead on.
I'm like, what? Like, and you just fall in love with this character. I thought she did a phenomenal job.
So interesting little thing about Emma is Emma was an actress, but she was a very minor. No one knew who Emma was. She was actually hired to come in and just read opposite of people. So when the actress who plays Camilla was auditioning, Emma read opposite as Diana. And so when Josh was coming in and auditioning, Emma read opposite of Josh as Diana. And so finally at some point, the directors came up and they're like, you're perfect. Like we had no idea. And so the director apparently got down on one knee and was like, "Will you be our Diana?" It was this very romantic, very great story. She tells she has an interview with Olivia Colman, who plays this variation of the Queen, and it's a very lovely story. And she was just a minor actress; no one knew who she was, and her job was to just read opposite of these people that were actually getting the roles in this. So very great story for her. I love that.
That is a great story. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that.
Oh, I've got a lot of time on my hands. I go down the rabbit hole.
No, but it was and you see how Charles, the things he said to Andrew, that just entitlement, because he was king and he was spoiled and the way he was raised. And then when he got to a certain age, you can see how he wanted to be with Camilla. That's just what he wanted. And everybody was like, listen, your grandfather's brother did this because of a woman, and look what he did to the Church of England, and you have a duty and a responsibility. And even Camilla was pushing him to be with Diana. She came to meet his family and hit it out of the park. Got the Queen Mother, the Princess Margaret, Anne, the Queen Mother, everything. She got them all.
So I have a question. Maybe I don't. Clearly, like I said, I don't care about spoilers because I'm curious to see how it unfold. But why couldn't he be with Camilla?
He was divorced.
She's married. She was married.
Oh, okay.
And she and her husband just had an understanding. They both sat down on each other, but it's just she couldn't be the queen. You could not get divorced.
Gotcha.
The heir or the queen would not recognize someone or even grant marriage to any of the royal household if someone's divorced. And that was a very new law. That's how Meghan Markle was able to marry Harry.
I was going to say how funny that Meghan Markle was married before she married
That's why Queen Elizabeth's father became king, because the first son who was eligible,
Wallace Simpson?
Yeah. He was in love with someone, but she was divorced.
Wallace Simpson, the American actress, right? Or whatever. So, that's who she left for.
That's why he abdicated the throne, and then King George became.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he abdicated the throne, and then he also became a Nazi sympathizer. So England did not miss out much. I had to Google that when I watched the first two seasons with and the woman that played Queen Elizabeth in the first two seasons, the younger actress
Claire Foy. Yeah.
Claire Foy. I fell in love with her.
I think I think you should watch season 4. It's really good. I want to see what they do. Oh my god! And can we talk really quick about Gillian Anderson and the job she did as Margaret Thatcher? Oh my god, she killed it. She will be nominated for something. Mark my words. Everyone
is saying she just knocked it out of the park. That the accent,
voice where she breathes from her stomach, and she's like, "I can't talk to you."
Very breathy. That's the way she describes how she did it. Was very breathy, and she held her mouth a certain way, and that's how she came up with the character. But I also saw interviews that the entire cast, when they were having their read-throughs, she had headphones on the whole time and was just listening to Margaret Thatcher's speeches. So when it came time for her to say her lines, she would have that in her head and know exactly how to say it. Love Gillian.
She was so good in this. It was amazing.
Now, do you guys know? So, and for those of you listening, I know the Crown. So the first two seasons are one set of actors. The seasons 3 and 4 are a set of actors, and then seasons 5 and 6 are going to be another set of actors.
Yeah. Right.
And I know that the first two seasons were kind of set up until I want to say the 1950s, 1960s, and then this seasons 3 and 4 are more the 70s and the 80s. Do we hit the 90s or no?
The next two seasons, I think, are going to be the 90s and early 2000s.
2000. Gotcha. Okay, so we go up into the 80s in this.
Yeah, season 5, I think, will be the 90s with the divorce of Charles and Diana. And then we'll probably
I think they're going to have to incorporate the death because they only got divorced. She was only legally divorced for a year before she died. They were legally divorced in 1996.
Yeah, well, the cliffhanger for season 4 was basically them deciding this marriage is not working. Yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of the cliffhanger. So, naturally we would know that they apparently go on to divorce.
I don't know. Like, I don't know if they're going to bring like the Prince Andrew and the Epstein stuff in. Like, they have a lot to incorporate. Like, they could keep this going. I don't know. It was good.
Well, and they even, because I remember they were only going to do 4 or 5 seasons of this show, and then they're like, all this we can do
the
5
decade
and 6.
thing. The decade thing works for them. Like,
it's very smart. Have we seen anything like this in other TV shows?
There was a show called Reunion back on Fox that I used to love, and it would go by like every year, and they canceled it in like the 6th episode when you finally found out who died, and you're like, what?
So it needs to be tweaked a little bit.
I like the idea of the show, like covering decades. Like, I think it's smart.
Yeah, and I think it's, as much as I hate, because you get so attached to these actors, as much as I hate it, like it's wise. Like, you have to change, the actors after so decades, because you can't keep Claire Foy as the queen and have her in the 2000s. Like, that's impossible.
I literally forgot that Gillian Anderson was Margaret Thatcher. Like, until I was like sitting there, I'm like, God, she looks like somewhat familiar. And that's when I like texted the group, and we all started like talking about it, like, oh, it's Gillian Anderson. And I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense.
I feel bad for the actress that played Diana, because she only gets one season.
Yeah.
They get 2 seasons each. Because
that was probably the agreement the royal family made with them. Like, she ain't getting more than 1 season.
Next season will be a much older Diana, and it'll be played by a completely new actress. But you have to, because, I mean, even at the end of season 4, I felt like, okay, Diana's aged a little bit now. Like, you're still looking like those early 80s.
18, 19 years old, and nobody...
She has a very, like, young, beautiful face. Looks amazing as that early Diana. But we started...
I kept waiting for that... I kept waiting for that John Travolta White House scene where they were
together. Me too. I was like, John Travolta comes in here at some point.
I feel like I got cheated out of the wedding, though. I did not like it. Like, they just showed her walking solo in the aisle, and I'm like, that is not how it happened. Where is the service? I'm like, where is her dad?
There are 80 Netflix documentaries that show that wedding, from the second she steps in that dress to the...
I was like, she wasn't alone in no hallway before she walked down the hallway. No.
I did read that Emma said that the moment she stepped into the dress, and the scene was they opened the doors. They opened the doors, and the entire cast and crew didn't say a word. Like, they were all just like
mesmerized.
Yeah,
she said it was so awkward because she just walked forward and it was silent. She could hear like her heels hitting the floor, but everyone was just like, This
it's my dream when I walk down the aisle, everyone just be like,
"Babe, you're gonna have headphones on." With the Twilight soundtrack, like
Twilight soundtrack, but I'm gonna have like Kelly Clarkson in my ear, giving me all the vibes I need.
All right, Josh, but you should watch it. I think you'll love it.
Yes, and Spencer's not seen it.
We did not lie to you about Emily in Paris. We did not lie.
You didn't. Yeah, to catch up, everyone, I did watch Emily in Paris in 2 days. I very much enjoyed it. It's a easy feel good if you're looking to escape, but it's very enjoyable. I thought she was going to come off as annoying, and she's actually very sweet and sincere.
You're like, I want to go get like a croissant with you.
Yes. Yeah, oh, please. No. I want to get breakfast wine. That made my day.
I thought of you.
Breakfast wine. Like, why didn't I think of this sooner?
That girl. That's why I'm like, I always like the sidekicks. Like, they're always so funny to me. She's like, oh, that's like a breakfast wine. It's nothing.
Ashley, I think her name's Ashley Park.
Ashley Park.
In real life. Oh, I followed her on Instagram. I'm like,
the character is Mindy. I was like, why don't we have a Mindy in our life?
I texted Chad when I was watching it. I'm like, oh my God, her friend is hilarious.
By far, Steen Steeler when she was there. But yeah, Spencer's not seen any of The Crown, so I think we might start from season 1 and go through. And those first 2 seasons I love, so I'm okay with that. But it's on our list to do. Kind of feels holiday-y, maybe. I don't know. But yes, so everyone, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Gayest Podcast Ever. The best way that you can thank us is to rate, review, subscribe, share with a friend, share with a coworker, share with a family member. We love you all. We love you all so much. Thank you for listening, and everyone out there, please stay safe this holiday season. Wash your hands, wear your mask, And just make sure that you're doing what's safe for you, for your family, and for everyone else in the world. Because together we can do this, but we got to do it together. So everyone out there, thanks so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.